It's personal story time.
So, rumor has it, Bob, you have many tales to tell, and one of them is about picking up a hitchhiker. What
Yeah.
is that all about?
Okay. So I've actually picked up a lot of hitchhikers. There's a not 0% chance that my tombstone is going to read was stabbed by a hobo. It could happen, yes, and somehow I'm still alive. And what's going to make this even more crazy, like at this point, I've probably picked up around 20 hitchhikers. This is the story of the very first hitchhiker I ever picked up. To set the scene, it is 2009. The economy just tanked. I got laid off and divorced in a 3-month period. And
Ooh,
then, like
rough
6
times.
months, yeah, that was great. Great time to be
You're
alive.
like, I'm gambling with the hitchhiker.
Yeah, right. What did I have to
Oh,
lose?
man.
So I had and I lost my unemployment like 6 or 9 months after that. I got screwed over by a temp agency. Um, so my dad was hiring me to come down and he lived about an hour away, and he would hire me to come do work for him. And so it was Father's Day. Oh, the other thing you need to know, me and my dad loved my dad. We could not be around each other for prolonged periods of time because we were too similar. We would butt heads real hard. So it's Father's Day. I have just enough gas to get me to my parents' house, but not enough to get back. And I don't have enough money. But my parents will give me money when I get there. The problem is they live in backwoods Alabama, and the only gas station is closed on Sundays. And this was a Sunday. So in my head, I was like, I'm just going to go see my dad. I'm just going to have to spend the night, which I don't want to do. But, it's Father's Day. I'm not going to miss Father's Day. I'm halfway there. I have $3 in change. I stop at a gas station to get my last $3 in gas. And this woman walks out of the gas station. She's somewhere between the ages of like 30 and 50. Meth has clearly been a factor in her life. She is wearing she's a fairly small woman, but she's wearing like a 3X shirt with a American eagle and flag on the front, and she's wearing like Daisy Duke short pink shorts with kitty across the back. It's a bold ensemble.
Yeah.
And so she walks up, and she's got a bag that is full of cartons of cigarettes, and she says, "Hey, look, I live just a couple miles up this road. If you'll take me home, I'll give you $10 in gas." And to me, it was like the heavens had opened up and a beam of light illuminated her. It's like that $10 would be enough money to get me gas to get home, because this is back when gas was affordable. And so I was like, yeah, sure. So I handed her my $3. She goes inside. She buys $13 in gas. She comes out with a suitcase of beer and a bag full of cigarettes. And I pump the gas. We get into my car. At this point, I drove a little S10 pickup truck, stick shift. And so I crank the car on, or the truck on, turn on the radio, and Hotel California by the Eagles is playing. And this woman proceeds to lose her mind. She's singing at the top of her lungs. She's like hooping and hollering, and she does like this, like she raises her hand, and what I assume is a high five. And I'm not going to leave a high five hanging. I'm not a monster. So I high five her, except she wasn't trying to high five me. She interlocks her fingers with my hand and like starts pulling my hand towards her. And so I'm like, oh,
while you're driving,
a stick shift, mind you. I'm like, hey, I got to change gears. Well, she asked, like, hey, look, I've got these cigarettes. These cigarettes actually came from this gas station up here. I need to go up there and pay for these cigarettes. If you don't mind, take me there. I'm going to pay for these cigarettes, and then you can take me home. I'm like, okay, sure, fine. I know where the gas station is. It's
so
like
she basically just said, I stole them, but I need to go pay for them?
I don't know.
Okay.
We've not hit felony status yet. That's coming. So, all right.
Spoiler alert.
Right? So we get to this gas station. She goes inside. I immediately cut. Oh, and she also is like, every time she hears the Eagles, she starts jerking her shirt to like as though the American Eagle on the front of her shirt has anything to do with the band the Eagles. Anyway,
Okay.
she gets out to go pay for the cigarettes. I immediately cut the radio off. We're going to be running silent now. I'm not going through that again. She gets back in the truck and she says, "Hey, look, these cigarettes actually belong to my boyfriend." Now keep in mind, the reason she didn't have a ride was because her boyfriend had abandoned her. Okay.
Okay.
So she's like, my boyfriend lives right up here, and she tells me where. And Highland Home, Alabama, doesn't really have like it's a couple gas stations in the middle of nowhere, right? They're not really neighborhoods, but as much as there's like a wrong side of the track, that's the neighborhood you don't go into. This is that place. I'm like, So my head kind of warred in two directions. One was like, she's a damsel in distress. She's a methed out damsel in distress, but she's a damsel in distress nonetheless. The other side was, you are going to die. All right. So these two sides are kind of wrangling back and forth. And what I finally decided was like, look, I'm just going to go with it because it'll make a great story if I live. So we go. And we get back into this really sketchy trailer park, and I stop. She goes inside to drop off the cigarettes, and I look to my left, and there are two guys. What I thought they were like shooting craps in like this dirt driveway. I couldn't figure out what they were doing. Turns out they were digging up one of the guy's stash of weed. They then walk to in front of my truck to handle the transaction. At which point she comes out of the trailer, buys a dime bag, and gets into my truck. And she looks at me like, "Oh, don't look at me like that." And I'm just like, "That's it. I'm going to jail. Like, I'm going to get pulled over. She's never seen this weed before. She has no idea where it came from, and I'm going to go to jail." Like, I just knew it. You know? I was like, you know what? To heck with it. We're just going. We're going. All right. So we're now finally heading to her house, but at this point we have to backtrack like 15 miles to get to where we started from, so I can now drive down her road.
Okay.
Right. So at that, we're not even out of this neighborhood yet, and she looks in her bag and she finds like $6. She's like, "Is this your money?" It's like, "No, I gave you my money." And she's like thrusting this wad of money in my face. Like, "Is this your money? Where did this come from?" I was like, "Look, I only had $3. I gave it to you. That's $6. It can't be mine. Like, just calm down. Just count it as a blessing." Well, what stopped her from freaking out about that was she saw that I had a tape in my tape deck, and it was Headless Cross, which was a god-awful Black Sabbath album. It was never supposed to be a Black Sabbath album. It was supposed to be a Tony Iommi solo album, but the label made him call it Black Sabbath, and it was not good. She immediately plugs it in, cranks it to 11, and starts hooping and hollering. And she at this point, I had long hair. I had hair down middle of my back, and she reaches over, curls her fingers into my hair, like pulls me towards her, and is like shouting at the top of her lungs about how her and her brother used to ride the dirt roads like this. And I'm just like, what is happening here? Like, oh my God. So I get the music cut down. We finally get to her road. And she lived a few houses down this road. Okay, she lived like 30 houses down this road, and this is backwoods Alabama. So it's a ways down this road. So we're driving, and she proceeds to take her shirt and roll it up to like right to where her bra is. And she has like, I don't know, it looked like she had been shot and it had been bandaged. I don't know if she'd been stabbed. I don't know if she'd been shot. I don't know if she had a kidney removed. I don't know what it was, but there was like a bloody gauze bandage there.
Man.
And so I was like, "That's it. Like, I'm about to get my kidney harvested. Like, this is how this ends. You know, I'm going to wake up in a bathtub."
Charlie.
Yeah. What exactly? So we finally get to her house, which is this really nice gate. like the gate that you would think for like
Oh.
a country manor. Okay.
Okay.
But you can see through the gate, and the only thing behind it is like a half ruined mobile home that I would not have let my dog live in. Okay.
Okay.
And she starts to get out of the car and she leans back in. It's like, is there anything I can do to repay you? And like it is very clear what she is insinuating. And I said, you can tell me the quickest way to get back to the highway. And she got mad. She got really mad. She's like, oh, fine, it's that way. And stormed off through the gate, and I never saw her again. And so I've proceeded to pick up, a couple dozen more hitchhikers since then.
You're like, just getting stories for my books.
Yeah, no, and that was the wildest. But I've had a number of other wild experiences. So.
Oh man, much more wild than the couple of hitchhikers that I have picked up. Well, actually, they weren't really hitchhikers. They were people that I saw walking in the rain, and I'm like, I'll give you a ride. I don't know who you are, but I'll get yeah. But oh man, that was quite the doozy of a story.
Yeah,
quite the doozy. The only thing that would have made it even crazier is if it had some sand in it that nobody liked because no one likes the beach. and that's the
Amen.
Podcast.
Amen.
Actually, before it's the podcast, head over to talesbybob.com to see all of the wonderful things that Bob is up to, from podcasts to books. Check that out. Bob is great. And that's the show, everybody.